Hello, welcome. So today we're going to talk about young people and investing. So all of us that are over probably 40 or 50, we all wish that we would have started investing when we were younger. So if you're younger, if you're younger, any age younger, if you're 10 or you're 20 or you're 30, you're younger. So start investing. That's the bottom line. That's the end result is start investing as soon as you can, as soon as possible. One thing that I learned probably about, when must that have been? That was in 2010, I believe. I learned then that when you invest money, it actually does make you money. I didn't know that before. How old must I have been in 2010? How many years ago was that? That was 14 years ago. So I must have been about 34ish or so mid 30s, and I still didn't know that investing money was a great idea. My grandparents used to tell me, my mom never really told me, my dad never really told me, but my grandparents used to be very tight on money and they used to know a lot about money, but I never gathered that information from them. And obviously they're gone now. So invest early, invest when you're young. Take it seriously now so that later on you don't have to take it as seriously. It's a little bit more fun at that point. So, no matter how old you are, if you, for example, if you're 12 or 15 years old, you can't get your own bank account, you have to be signed on with a parent or a guardian of some sort, that's okay. They can still open an account either as a trust or in their own name, where if you have a job, like you go and you cut people's grass, or you take their garbage out for them, or you pick up their mail from the mailbox if you have one that's, down the street or whatever, stuff like that. Do those services and put that bit of money, whatever money you make, into an investment account of some sort. Give it to your parents and say, here, I made $50 this month. Can you put this into my account? And they can do that. And you can earn investment money. You can earn money from that. The earlier you start, the better it is. Now, I don't know all the legalities of opening an account for a child, and I have no children, so I've never looked into such a thing. Obviously, do that. But the younger you start, the more you'll have. And that is what it is. Those are just the facts. And so what you want to do basically from the beginning, if you have started a job or an actual career, like you're on the career path, like you're getting going in whatever career it is you're choosing, or you're in that process of figuring out what career you're going to choose, at that time you can start thinking about investing more, a little bit more serious, because now you're getting into, you've put your big girl or your big boy pants on, and now it's time to get for real. So one thing that I used to work at a corporation in Minnesota, a large major corporation in Minnesota. I'm not going to say the name, but I used to work there and made good income. But they had a Caribou Coffee so it was I don't know how many, 8-story building, I think 8 stories maybe. I don't remember honestly. But they had a Caribou Coffee down on the base level. When you came into the building, that's the level. And that's where the Caribou Coffee was. I had never drank coffee before until I started that job. I never cared about coffee before. But boy, when I tasted that coffee, what was it called? Oh, I don't know. Turtle mocha, I think. A turtle mocha, I was addicted 100% and have not stopped drinking coffee since. Now, I don't have Caribou down in Texas anymore, or in Texas, but that $5 or $7 a day, and literally I would buy it every day, could have been invested instead, and it makes me so mad. So, for example, if you got coffee just 2 times a week, like similar to what I do now, I do coffee usually 2 times a week at Starbucks. I spend $7. That includes taxes, $7. It's like $6.78 or something like that. So $7. And if I average that out all month, most months are going to have 4 weeks. And so that's going to be an average of $56 per month. that I'm spending on coffee that I also make at home and can put all the extras at home. But anyway, if I would put that into an investment account instead, I will have spent $13,440 over the course of, I believe I figured out it was 20 years, over 20 years. I will have spent $13,440 on that coffee. Now, if instead of spending it on coffee, I would have put it in an investment account instead, just the $56, starting with zero, no investment account is open. I'm just going to put my $56 in there. I'm going to save the money from the coffee, drink my own coffee that I made at home, and I'm going to put my $56 in the account for 20 years. That account would grow to $42,524 on average. And that's an average of a low 10% annual return on that investment. And that's if I retire at the age of 60. So this is only going till 60 because that's my imaginary date. I wanted to retire at 60. I know now I'm too old. I have to hold off. But if I started young 20 years ago and I'm going to retire now, if I were 60 now, I would have $42,000 in that account with nothing else added. Only the $56 per month from Starbucks or from making coffee at home and saving my Starbucks, right? Now, a lot of us drink Starbucks all the time, or Caribou, or whatever coffee shop is near you that you love. A lot of us do that every day. We don't think anything of it. It's less than $10. Who cares? How about if you do that 3 times a week? If you're spending, let's say you're getting a big one, you're getting a venti or a large or whatever, Caribou I think calls it a large. How about if you're doing that and it's $10, $10 a pop? So that's $30 a week on coffee. $30 a week in 4 weeks, that's $120. So that's almost doubling my $56 per month horrible habit. So that would mean you would more than double the $42,000. What I'm saying is the little money that you're sprinkling here and there and, buying all these things, you don't need them. Think about your future. Think about how good it would feel to have an account, just a random account sitting out there where you just have a random $50,000 just waiting for you. You can just take it out and just have it for you. It's amazing. Now, most of the world, not the world, I shouldn't say it, that's wrong. Most of America has a car payment. This is just the way it is. I don't understand it. I never had a car payment. I bought one car on payments and I realized it was stupid. I paid it off as quickly as possible. I think it was about a year and a half I had that car on payments and then paid it off. But most people in the world have car payments because they either have a certain image they're going after and so they have to finance the car because they can't pay cash for it, or because they think that all used cars are crap and that they're going to break down on the side of the road. And that's just not reality. It's just not. I have driven used cars all my life. I have never in my life purchased a new car. I have no interest in purchasing a new car. It's just not in me. It doesn't matter. It may matter to you. So if it matters to you, think about this. The average car payment in America is nearly $730 per month. Now, I know there are people out there that have car payments of $400 and there are people out there that have car payments of $1,200. The average American car payment is $730. That is way too much money that you're spending on a car every month. That's way too much. Because what happens if you suddenly have to buy a new fridge and you didn't have the money in an emergency fund because you're crazy, but you didn't have the money saved. So now you have $730 you're going to pay your car, but you don't have $730 you can buy a new fridge. So you might skip that car payment and put it toward the fridge. And then your car payment behind, which then hits you and I don't know how long it takes for them to come after you. But it's a problem. If you have that money just as cash, you can go buy the fridge. No problem. It's not a big deal. You have to replace the money in your emergency account. But just think about it. If you took if you purchased a car and you purchased it cash, you bought a $6,000 car because you saved for 2 years and you saved $6,000 somehow. So you go buy yourself a $6,000 car, just a good old fashioned reliable car. Nothing special, nothing spectacular, nothing fancy, just a good old running car. Most importantly, a running car. And you saved that $730 that the average is paying on a car note. You would spend $175,000 in 20 years if you keep buying cars year after year after year, or 3 years after 3 years after 3 years, because it's usually a 3-year note, right? 3 or 4 years. If you do that continuously, which is the American way, you'll spend $175,000 over the course of 20 years. $175,000 over the course of 20 years. If instead you put that $730 that you would spend per month in an investment account, an average investment account that's going to bring you 10% return, you can probably get higher, but let's just say it's average 10% return. You're going to do this for 20 years because you're young, or heck, you could be 40 and do it too and still be the same. We're going to start an investment account with $0, and all we're going to do is we're going to put that $730 car payment into that investment account instead of into a car. That's a depreciating asset that you shouldn't be financing. Instead of putting it into that car, we're going to put it into this investment account for 20 years. Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me how much money they think they would have after 20 years? You don't have to, because I'm going to tell you. You would have nearly $554,000 in an investment account. If you did just the average 10% investment, invest just your $730, the investment account starts with $0 in it. There's nothing in it until you start putting your $730 a month. In 20 years, 10% annual return, you'll have over $550,000. You can buy a brand new car with $554,000, just so you know. So 20 years is not that long. 20 years is not that long. Like, it's just not. 20 years ago, it was 2005. 2005 was not that long ago. So I encourage you to look at the spending habits that you have and see if you can alter them a little bit, because you can make your future very bright if you just plan it out properly. So I had some examples that I put into the investment calculator or the retirement calculator on Dave Ramsey's website, RamseySolutions.com. Then look for the investment calculator or the retirement calculator. I think it's the same. I think just the verbiage is different. But if you were to do that, if you were, let's say, 40 years old, you're 40 years old, you haven't invested a dime yet, so you're just starting out new. If you invested, so you're 40 years old, you want to retire when you're 60 years old, and you're able to invest $500 a month, and your annual return on your investment is an average of 10%, you're going to have $380,000 in 20 years when you're 60 years old. That's just 20 years. $500 a month, 20 years, $380,000. It's incredible. Now, let's say you start a little bit sooner. So let's say you start when you're 30 years old, because now you've caught on and you finally listen to your parents or your grandparents or your neighbor or your teacher or your mentor, and they are telling you need to invest now because it's easier now than it is when you're old. So at 30 years old, and you still want to retire when you're 60 because you're like me and you don't want to work the rest of your life. You want to play. So when I retire, I'm not going to just go lay in my bed for the next 20 years. That's not the way it works. When I retire, I want to find hobbies that I can do, or I want to teach, or I want to go do craft classes all over the country, or just travel around the country, or move to Italy and learn their language there. There's stuff I want to do when I retire, and I hope you have things you want to do when you retire as well. But anyway, pretend we're 30. We're going to retire when we're 60, which means we have 30 years to invest. We're going to invest just $500 a month. That's it. I'm going to put some value on me and my time, and I'm going to invest $500 a month. I'm going to stick with the average 10% return on my investment. In 30 years, when I turn 60, my investment, my $500 a month over 30 years, my investment account will have approximately $1.1 million in there. Now, keeping in mind, when you retire, you're not going to stop investing. Maybe will decrease your investing a little bit, but you can still keep investing, still getting that compound interest to grow. $1.1 million if you started when you were 30. Are you 31 right now and you haven't started? Start now. $500 a month. Just do it. Just do it. You need to cut out on all your Starbucks. You need to cut out on all your Chick-fil-A, all your, what is California? In-N-Out Burger. Cut all that out. Cut all that out and put $500 a month in an investment account so that you can be a millionaire in 30 years when you're 60. Okay? Now, let's take it a step further. How about if you're just a little bit younger? How about if you're 25 years old? Everything else is the same. Still, you want to retire when you're 60. You still have $500 that you can invest. You're still going to gather approximately 10% return on your investment. After 40 years of investing, after 35, that'd be 35 years of investing. Anybody want to guess how much money you would have in your investment account? $1.9 million on average. 10% return on investment will end up being somewhere around, it's not an exact number, an estimated $1.9 million. If you're 25, if I were 25 and someone told me I could have nearly $2 million if you just put $500 aside right now, starting right now every month. Do you know how quickly I would have found $500 and start putting it in every month? It's crazy because we spend money so quickly we don't even know where it goes. If we spend it in an investment account instead, it's still quickly going to go, but it's going to come back to you as $1.9 million in 35 years. It's crazy. It's crazy, and y'all just don't. If you're young and you have money to invest, just do it. I'm going to give one more example, and then I'm going to be done. I'm going to be done, I promise. 20 years old. You're maybe still in college. You just got out of college. Maybe you skipped college because you went to a trade school, or maybe you just don't need college because you're smart enough to do it on your own. And you're 20 years old and you want to invest. You can afford to invest $500 a month. You've budgeted, so you know. You can afford $500 a month. You want to retire when you're 60 because, like me, you don't want to work forever. And your return is going to be an average of 10% return on your investment account. You're going to be your average. So with all of that same information, in 40 years, when you turn 60 years old, your retirement account, are you ready? Oh my gosh, it's so dramatic. It's so dramatic. You're going to have approximately an estimated $3.2 million in your investment account. This is an account that started with zero. You only put $500 in every month, and you're going to have an estimated $3.2 million in your investment account. How long do you suppose you can live on $3.2 million? And keep it in mind, when you retire, you're going to keep investing. You're not going to cut it off and life will come to an end then. You still need to live. You still need to live somewhere. You still need to enjoy yourself, whatever. But who can't use $3.2 million when they're 60 years old? I'm getting close to 60. I'm 12 years away from being 60. If someone told me that I could have had $3.2 million, I'm sure someone did tell me and I just didn't listen because I was 20 at the time. If you're 20 years old, listen, darn it, listen. Invest some money into an account. Maybe it's not $500 a month. Maybe it's $100 a month for a few years. And then as you grow into a career, you increase it to $500 a month. And then you're in that career for a little while, so then you increase it to $1,000 a month or whatever. Invest. The main goal is to invest. Please start as soon as possible. so that you can get into this investing adventure and see the growth happen. It's so fun to see it happen. And just make it automatic. Make it so you don't even think about it. Make it so that the $500 that you're putting in there, you don't even realize is yours, because it's just going into this account, just building up money in this account. And really, most importantly, have a good financial advisor, because they're the ones that can advise you, guide you on the path, make sure you have your money in the right places, in the right funds. So those are my tips for today for you young people. Invest now. Start now. If you're 15, if you're 25, 35, 45, 55, start now. Just do it. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I sure hope that you can give the video a big thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you should hit the bell so that you know when the next video comes out. I thank you so much for stopping by. Y'all have a great one.